Hey there, this is John Henny. I am a voice teacher and the author of Beginning Singing, which has been a bestseller on Amazon, so please do check that out. Today, I want to talk about breathing and support and just what is all this? Why is there so much confusion? Why is it something that is almost talked about in mysterious terms? Because you know how to breathe, right? So breathing for singing, how much harder can it be? Well, it's complicated. But I want to give you how this works. And my goal today is to increase your awareness of the muscles of breathing and give you a few exercises just to work on some coordinations. Now, there are different schools of thought for breathing. And ultimately, most of them work. I think some might be better than others, but there are fantastic singers and fantastic voice teachers who don't agree on breathing. So I'm going to lay this out. I'm going to give you the mechanics, and then you can play around and make your own decisions. Now, what makes this tricky? I mean, it's basically a binary system, right? We breathe in, we breathe out. In, out. And most of us know that the diaphragm is a major muscle of breathing. You will hear old sayings like sing from the diaphragm, and most voice teachers now will tell you that's not exactly what happens. But it's not exactly a lie either. When we breathe in, the diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle and the lungs are attached at the top. So when it contracts, it descends. And what that does is it sucks in air like a syringe, creates a vacuum and pulls air into the lungs. The lungs don't do anything by themselves. The lungs need these muscles to make them work. They're just a vacuum. So this sucks in the air. However, that's not the only muscle of inspiration or breathing in. So we have muscles within our ribs, the intercostals, and you can feel, if you take a deep breath, you'll feel your chest expand, right? And if we push all our air out, you'll feel your chest collapse. So the chest expanding also helps with this vacuum effect. Now, you may also feel the belly. And some people think that the top of their belly, when they feel that extend, that's their diaphragm coming down. It's actually not. Your diaphragm is up here, and it only drops as much as maybe 7 centimeters. And when you're resting, it's only 1 or 2. It doesn't move that far. So it's not getting down into your upper belly. What you're feeling is as the diaphragm drops, it needs to make room. And so your viscera, your innards, your guts drop. And that's what you feel, the protrusion in your belly. So this leads to different schools of thought for breathing. So there is chest breathing, where the chest expands and then collapses. Expands, collapses. This is usually not a preferred way of breathing for singing. Way back in the day, when women wore corsets, they kind of had to breathe this way because they didn't have the ability to drop the stomach. And beginning singers, and some of us who are maybe a little more self-conscious and we don't want our tummy protruding, will try and use chest breathing. But I'll tell you why this is not so efficient. I was looking at a video for piping icing on cupcakes. And the reason I was looking at it is because I wanted to see the technique, because I thought it was probably analogous to what we do when we breathe for singing. And the technique is not to fill the icing in the bag and squeeze it, right? That's going to send the icing flying everywhere. What the person does is they get on the end of the bag and they take their hand and they gently squeeze from the bottom. So rather than like a bulb that can suck in and then squeeze up the air, right? We've seen those bulbs for cleaning out our ears or squirting things up the nose, right? It's more like a syringe. And the reason is, when we use this chest breathing and we collapse our chest, we're kind of squeezing the lungs from the sides, and it's more like squeezing this piping bag. And so the air, we don't get control, number one. But we also don't get support. Because watch, I want you to do this. I want you to take in a deep breath and then push all of your air out. Now, you are likely feeling hunched over, right? Your belly's all crammed up, your chest is caved in. That is collapse. And that's the opposite of support. This support word confused me for the longest time. What do you mean support? Supporting the tone? Well, it really is. It's a supported system. All of the muscles of breathing are in this antagonistic relationship. We'll talk about that in a moment. But they're holding this piping bag, if you will. It's allowing to be open. It's not crushing from the sides. You're not crushing the can, right? You're gently pressing up from the bottom. So what's the best way to do this? Well, most schools of singing, most voice teachers will have you apply pressure to the lungs from below. When we breathe out, the diaphragm has to go back from its contracted, flattened state to going back to a dome shape, which helps push the air out of the lungs. But we don't want the diaphragm going all at once. That's going to be too much air. When we send too much air to the vocal cords, you're either going to get really breathy or you're going to jam up. So in order to control that air, much like the piping bag, much like a syringe, we are going to press up from the bottom. It's the difference between squeezing a tube of toothpaste in the middle or you squeeze it from the bottom. If you have kids, you know the problem with squeezing it from the middle. Toothpaste goes everywhere. Now, the muscles of the stomach, this is where things get a little tricky because we have muscles that we have direct control of, right? We can wiggle our fingers and wiggle our toes, and there's a very strong mind-body connection there. But the muscles of singing, it gets a little fuzzier. The muscles of the vocal folds, we really don't have that direct conscious control. It's kind of indirect. The muscles of breathing, we do have direct control, but it is a little fuzzy and we feel some muscles more than others. So what I want you to do is I want you to place your hand on your belly button and I want you to cough. And you will feel your stomach pop out. Now these muscles, the rectus abdominis, these muscles we know as the six-pack muscles, these tend to be very strong in our awareness. And we use these to contract the body. These are the muscles we use for a sit-up. So if you're going to push out all your air, try that again. You're really going to contract those muscles. But that becomes a little too much when we're singing. And when we are straining to lift something, we will really tighten those as we clamp down on our vocal cords. So while this is great for lifting a heavy weight or giving birth, it's not so good for singing. So we want to control these muscles. We don't want them coming in and jamming up. And this is where our vanity can get in the way a little bit. When we sing, we got to let our belly come out. The belly's got to come out. And the reason is we want to relax these abdominal muscles. The abdominal muscles are like a girdle. We have these muscles in the front, and then you have these obliques on the side. So I want you to go ahead, dig your fingers into your side, and cough for me. Ooh, you'll feel that. Yeah. You will feel those muscles really tighten. These are important muscles for singing. And then you also have the muscles there in the lower back. And this forms this ring around the belly. So what we want to do when we breathe in is we want to develop this posture of, as we exhale, we also want to keep some of the intention of breathing in. Some of the old schools will talk about singing on the inhalation. And of course you can't sing while you inhale. Well, you can reverse phonate, but usually aren't going to do that in most singing styles. But if you keep this feeling of breathing in, what that helps you do is keep these stomach muscles from over-engaging, from over-shoving. And so now we get into the different mindsets of how to make this happen. And this is where we begin to find divergent views within singing. So what I want you to do is I want you to just develop this awareness. So we're going to do a few exercises. First, I want you to just place your hands on your rib cage, and we're going to take in a few deep breaths. And you're going to feel your ribs expand, contract, expand, contract. Good. Now, I want you to breathe in and feel this expand. And we're going to let out on a hiss, but keep the expansion. Keep this intention. Feel like you're still breathing in, so it doesn't collapse all at once on you. So we keep this open chest. And this is common within most schools of breathing. Now, we don't want to pull up the chest super high. We don't want to overstraighten the spine. We want everything to feel really natural. This is not a forced condition, but we want more of this just expanded, open chest. Now, while holding the chest in that position, I want you to just let the belly expand. And I want you to first feel your front expand. Good. Now taking another breath, put your hands on your sides and taking a breath and feel your sides expand. Breathe into your sides. And then finally, I want you to take a breath and I want you to breathe into your lower back. Just really feel that breath pull down and into your lower back. Now, of course, your lungs aren't going into your back. Your diaphragm's not dropping into your back. But what you're doing is you are giving your nervous system, you're giving your body the command to relax these muscles. Now, breathe in all directions. Good. So now what we're going to do, so the chest is open. We are going to breathe in all directions, especially into our sides and back. Let the tummy come out, but the trickier ones are the sides and back. And now exhale on a hiss. Good. One final thing. What you're going to feel when you go to exhale is this urge to begin to clench from the girdle, clench from that circle of muscles around your belly. So what I want you to do is I want you to feel 2 inches below your belly button. Go ahead and put your hand there, and I want you to cough. Do that again. You'll feel the little belly there, 2 inches below your navel, pop out. You feel that muscle? Now, I want you to, on that kick out, that pop out, push that out. Perfect. Now, our chest is expanded. We are going to breathe in all directions and really think about the back. So we open up this barrel below us. Now on the hiss, I want you to push out from that muscle below the belly button. And it's not a shove. It's just a steady lean. That's it. And as you do this, I want you to hold the chest and the stomach muscles. Keep that feeling of breathing in. Do this for me. Go to breathe in and then close your vocal cords. Good. Now keep trying to breathe in. Can you feel that? Feel the muscles engage. It's an opening. Good. Now as we exhale, only press on that little muscle below your navel and everything else. We've got this expanding feeling. Now you're beginning to experience support. The whole mechanism is supported. It's not collapsing. It's not squeezing. And this little press out muscle, now do this pulse. And you can feel that little muscle kick out from below the belly button. When you sing, I want you to feel that. Feel this barrel beneath you. Feel this little press. As you go higher, you may need to lean on that a little more. You'll hear people talk about that in the Italian technique, the lean. But I just want you to play with these feelings. I want you to play with this idea of you're still breathing in as you're letting the air come out. Try that. Let's think about breathing in, right? Feel that expansion? But I'm still mentally breathing in. And they're not sure if everyone can do this, but it is believed that some of us can coordinate our diaphragm to resist going up. We're playing with the diaphragm. This is where this idea of singing from the diaphragm, I believe, comes. We don't want the diaphragm, again, to, as it relaxes, it's kind of like tensing a muscle and then slowly releasing it rather than just being on or off. Muscles like to just go on off when we're first learning something. But as we develop these coordinations, you're really going to feel a greater control in your breathing and your singing. Hey, if you want to know more about me, please check out my website, johnhenny.com, and be sure to subscribe to my podcast, The Intelligent Vocalist, where I talk more about this singing and voice science stuff. We'll talk soon.